Welcome back to Room 171, or what we also call Studio B. Right here on the creative campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College, Studio B is our production facility. It's here that we record musicians, we shoot photos and headshots and portraiture, we craft TV and radio commercials, and we use it as a headquarters for our drone program. So Studio B is a pretty exciting place, pretty exciting and creative environment. And today we've got a friend of the show and a student in television production, Trey Earnest. Trey has been with us for this entire year. He'll graduate next month in May 2025. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Trey about television production technology, TPT, maybe some of the things that if you are interested in the class, you should be aware of. And if you are interested, maybe some of the things you should be aware of for maybe the reason you don't realize, which is maybe it's not for you. It is work. It is demanding. It will tear you up if you're not ready for it. And we'll let Trey explain why I say that when we come back. We will be right back. Welcome back here today with Trey Earnest. Morris Earnest, you go by Trey because you are the third, though not unusual nickname. Thanks for taking the invitation to be able to sit down and talk a little bit about television production. You came, I think, the second week of school? You weren't here the very first day. You missed a day or two, or maybe the first part of the week. I can't remember.
I want to say I came in on the second week.
Okay, second week. Okay, so we started on a Monday. You came the following Monday. You caught up pretty quickly. You've done actually really well. You think you're doing all the right stuff in the class. But in all fairness, all of the students this year have done really well. Trey, talk a little bit about what interested you in the program, how you found out about the school, about the class, and maybe some of your insights into what we do here.
Well, I came to the college maybe a handful of times. I wouldn't say a handful. I'd say maybe about like 3-ish or so times. And in the past, I wasn't even actually looking for the class itself, this class that we're in. It was actually, I was thinking about CDL and doing that. And then I was thinking about doing something else. I can't really recall what it was. I think just cabinet making might have been like something. I think my dad and my mom are both kind of just like, why don't you just do that? Like there's good money in it. So that was kind of like on the table. But eventually, whenever my dad started the whole FOIA thing, which I definitely have talked about a lot of, but that was like a whole thing where it was like this business that he made, and well, I say business, but more of a charity. And he started this, and that was kind of my incentive to join this class was like, oh, they're going to need a photographer, a videographer. They're going to need someone that knows what they're doing instead of paying some other guy to come out and maybe not even know if they're any good, or, telling apart the quality of stuff is kind of a pretty hard thing, especially if you don't really know what you're looking for.
No doubt.
And pretty much, I mean, actually, I don't know exactly the steps that culminated into me finally getting into the class, but around the time it was something along the lines of, oh, well, let's go just check it out. We'll sign you up. And, if you don't like it, then, you can just bail out, And I mean, I'm still here, so it didn't happen.
Well, the way that you describe it, it was probably kind of difficult to anticipate what you were actually going to do. Obviously, it would involve cameras, photo, video to some extent. I guess by extension, you kind of figured there'd be some kind of sound capture involved, microphones and that sort of thing. Talk a little bit about what you found when you got here, and maybe within the first week or two, your thoughts about what you get yourself into here.
Oh man, the first week, just before even actually the week before, I was hearing all sorts of stories about you being like, oh, he's a really tough dude. You probably won't survive. All this other stuff, and
it started to interrupt you. But who was telling you those things?
Maybe Miss April.
Well, so with our own administration. They do that for me, and I'm fully aware, and I endorse them doing that because, and now you know that some people probably it would have scared them off, and if it scared them off, it probably should have, because they're not really going to be happy. Isn't it? Okay.
But I mean that the major thing was hearing that, and then on top of that, the week prior, so I think that Friday, you had one student leave, and Miss April was the one to tell me about that, and she didn't explain why he had left, but in my head, I was like, "Oh man, that guy must be really rough if you get someone to quit on the first week or whatever." I was like, "Uh-oh." But whenever I fully came in here and you taught me how to shoot on manual on the camera, it was a pretty big like light switch moment of just like, okay, well, this is like I'm already in the deep end right now. And then we did a full walk around the studio, got a pretty much a good glimpse of what would be going on throughout the course, and it pretty much sold me almost instantly, even regardless of your character and what I was told. It wasn't like too uncommon. I mean, it kind of runs in the family that people are a little like outgoing or stuff like that. So I didn't get thrown for a loop or anything like that, but uh everything that we went through, I think the main focus in the first week was mainly photography. I believe was mainly what we focused on. So other than that, I can't really add too much other insight on anything else. But for the photography part, I mean, that was a huge portion because I'd never messed with a camera before. I've only ever taken photos on my phone, and even that's like nowhere in comparison. Well, maybe depending on what type of phone, but now like I never messed with a camera, in that first day of being able to actually learn how to, it was such a mind opener for me of just like, oh, everything else in the future of this class is probably going to be the exact same way. And I mean, so far it has been. So yeah.
To use your expression, we do throw you in the deep end of the pool. Within the first 2 days, as you point out, you were operating that manual camera, something that other people take years to learn. I never had internet when I was learning photography. It was at a very young age, and it was before internet, before videos or any instructional material. And so I would go to the library, and check out books, and it was tough wading through this stuff when you're reading. If you have a science-based book written by a scientist, you better be a scientist to be able to understand it. And so even after digital came into being, I still didn't shoot in manual for a while. It just threw me. And so when I started teaching, I figured that's the first thing we want to do and that gives you, I think, a boost of confidence, especially people who have tried to do it on their own and then come here and within 2 days they're doing it. I think that gives you a sense of confidence that will get you through the rest of it. You mentioned somebody leaving initially. That's when we really want them to leave. They actually have several hours. I think it amounts to the better part of a week or so that they can attend and then decide to move to another program. No harm, no foul. If you stay months and then drop out, then obviously there's going to be a problem with financial aid. Yeah. But as long as it happens at the beginning, so that's why we make sure that people are told by April, hey, this guy's tough. He's going to make you work. Make no mistake. It's not summer camp. It's not even fun at times. However, I think that in order to have fun, you have to have fun on purpose. And you can only have fun if you know you're not going to hurt yourself. And you only know you're not going to hurt yourself if you know what you're doing. And so the only way that I know how to teach is the way that I teach. And it's pretty demanding. It's very, very cut and dried. It's on a time schedule. Unfortunately, there is no book that teaches what we teach here. There simply doesn't exist. The technology is evolving all the time. Part of what we use is the Adobe suite of editing programs, and those go through major changes every quarter and small changes every month. And now with the introduction of artificial intelligence, AI, the updates even come more often. So there's nobody, including myself, that can keep on top of all the latest cutting edge technology because it's changing that rapidly.
Oh yeah.
So it's my job to teach you how to learn before we even start to learn. So it's that, look, I know you don't want to be here and you don't want to hear me saying you got to get it done by this amount of time, but that's what you must embrace. Timelines, time management, completion dates, did those things give you a hard time?
I'd say that was my initial struggle was due dates and being a perfectionist. That was it was a mindset I had before even actually coming into the class, but it definitely made it worse coming into the class for the beginning part of it, because in my head I was thinking like, oh, I gotta have a really high quality video. But in my head, I didn't really know what high quality video truly meant. Like, I just see videos online, TV shows, and that's a very large standard to try to come to. They'll be like, oh, I'm gonna be like just like Michael Bay or something. Like, you're not doing that. But
Well, I don't make my students become fast until they become proficient. I don't make them be creative until they're able to become fast and proficient. So it's sort of a stepping stone kind of thing. No matter how creative you are, you really have to develop your skills, the science part of the program, before you can really unleash that creativity, because you don't get to know what's possible to be able to do.
oh yeah,
The effects that you can apply to video, the effects you can put on photos, for instance. So talk about creativity for a second. How has your creativity been affected? How have you looked at creativity in general in the time you've been in the class?
well, I have to think back on it for a second, because I would recall at some point, I know that we were working on a video for, maybe it was a Halloween project or something along those lines, but there was something that we were working on, and I was using footage from the cemetery nearby, and I remember, I can't recall exactly what the prompt was for the entire assignment, but I recall being along the lines of, you just use some of the shots and kind of tell like a story or something along those lines. And I remember you had asked, oh, you guys want to go outside? And I was the one person to be like, no. I was like, I want to work on this video. And to be honest, I'm looking back on it, it's pretty bare bones, but for the time, it was something to me that I was like, oh man, like I'm really sinking my time into this, wanting to like make it like be as creative as I could have possibly been at the time. And I feel like at the time I succeeded. I was pretty happy with what I came up with. There's maybe a few things that are maybe a little upsetting to me, but it was, in the end, it was very eye-opening, because you gave me time to work on it. So it was more of like, oh, well, I actually did this thing, and I feel very happy with it. Like I said before, there's some things I probably would have changed, but either way, I was happy with it. And from there, I mean, I just kind of boosted up my confidence more about just editing and creativity. Kind of, it's just like, you can do anything you want. Like, no one's going to judge you. It's just you and your camera. Well, I guess depending on whoever's in your crew, but
Question I ask other students when we have these kinds of sit-down discussions is talking about that creative process, and when everybody has their project turned in, going around the table, everybody has to give some kind of input, good, bad, ugly, thoughts about how they did it. Is it good? Is it bad? What improvements could be made? How do you feel about that peer involvement after the fact, and what do you get out of that?
Well, I've kind of learned to take all criticism as almost like a blessing. Like someone's telling you straight to your face that there's something wrong with it, and if you get like aggressive about it, then you're not gonna learn what you were doing wrong, or like what someone else's opinions are. Because if you get to that mindset of, oh, I'm right, then like you're not going to succeed for long, because there's going to be a lot of people saying that it's ugly or all sorts of stuff. But I mean, whenever we do that, I mean, I think I probably heard someone say anything really that disheartening to someone's video. But I mean, there's been times where it's like, oh, you could have fixed that. And then, it kind of clicks for a second where you're just like, oh yeah, I should have been thinking about that. Oh, why didn't I do that? That's like a fundamental that we've done. Like, oh, well, thank you for pointing it out. And then you kind of get to that mindset of, oh, well, I remember that time we sat at the table and I need to add something. And then as you're working on your video, you're like, oh yeah, that's what it was. And then boom, you've learned from your mistake through help of someone else critiquing you. So
Coming into this program with thin skin, and if you're easily offended, or if you wear your feelings on your sleeve, it's probably not going to be a good thing.
yeah, I would say so. Well, not through like your classmates. Your classmates aren't going to give you a hard time. It's going to be you. I mean, you know that as well. But I mean, for my time being here, and no one in the class is truly giving me a hard time about my projects or anything like that. So there's no like, oh, I got to impress everyone else. We're all in the same boat.
Well, as you point out, it's constructive criticism.
Not too yet.
And the thing of it is, everybody is in exactly the same boat. If I blow a hole in the bottom of your boat, you're going to do it to me the next ball. and I will deserve it, because we never make a perfect project. Everything can stand. Either you didn't have enough time, in which case you know exactly what you should have done. People are pointing out things. You go, yeah, I know, but I ran out of time. So what do you think about that process of shoehorning you into giving you a finite amount of time, knowing that you're not going to produce it at your state of readiness today? But next month and the month after that and the month after that, you get faster, you get better, you know shortcuts, you know the hotkeys instead of going through all of the mouse clicks. And pretty soon you're becoming more creative and faster, and all going towards the fact that someday in a job scenario, you're going to have to produce.
Yeah, I mean, well, like you almost brought up the shortcuts, but not in the sense of, keyboards, in the sense of actual physical shortcuts. I mean, because typically if you're needing to cut with your video to another video, and then, you're having to set up the camera again and blah, blah, blah. But once we got to the point of like doing a 2-camera shoot, it was almost like, oh, there's so much weight off my shoulders now, because now I can easily get 2 times the footage and just like setting up both cameras at once. And that's truly like one of those things where I was like, oh, it's so much easier. Like,
so while less is more, sometimes more is less.
Oh yeah. Well, that one with the shortcuts for like keys and stuff, I personally haven't gotten too used to it, but it definitely is something that you want to get used to, because it will shorten your post-production by a long shot, landslide. But
thanks for taking the time to talk about this. I think it's important for potential students to be able to, if they can't visit us, to hear, in the words of current or past students, all those things that maybe they've heard about, whether it's the Miss April or others. At one time, the local newspaper was telling everybody, "Oh, watch out for that dueling guy." I own it. I mean, I tell everybody, absolutely. I'm the toughest teacher that you'll ever have, and if I'm not, then I'm not doing my job properly. One thing that I'll leave you with, and that's the fact that I say this pretty often, is that my job is to make my students uncomfortable. And people want to bow up at that and go, well, no, you should love your students, which I do love my students. But my job is to get them comfortable with being uncomfortable, because when you go out into that world, every single new job you get, you are the new guy. And guess what? You're back. You put flashbacks to sitting at that conference table in the classroom, and everybody else staring at you and saying, why didn't you get your job done? Do you think that we prepare people for the real world and the marketplace in a job scenario?
Oh, definitely. I mean, all the previous students that we've talked about and where they are now, I mean, that's a surefire sign of, well, good things come from, sticking around. So, I mean, also there's like, I guess like a grain of luck in it, if you somehow hit gold and being whatever, sometimes someone can notice you, especially if you're posting on social media, you can get someone to view your stuff and kick you off in the right direction. But
mainly, luck is being prepared when you are at the right place at the right time. If you're in the right place at the right time, luck alone is not going to work. You're prepared.
Yeah. And that's definitely the main thing from this entire course is you get prepared for just about anything that get thrown at you. I mean, we use certain camera brands, but I think like you've stated, they're all kind of, you can just finagle with it and you'll eventually figure it out.
There's not a nickel's worth of difference in the quality or in the operation. Buttons may be at a different place, but when you learn how to operate a camera, you know how to operate most cameras. Trey, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for sharing this, bearing your soul as it is. Sometimes it's cathartic to talk about this stuff. Sometimes you don't want to remember those first few miserable days. But thanks very much for being a part of this series. Hopefully it's going to help to prepare some of our potential students. As you know, we have people come in and take tours, shadow with us, and you guys get a chance to speak to them directly. But this is going to give an opportunity for people that don't have that chance to come in physically to be able to learn a little bit more about the program. So thanks again.
No problem at all.
Our guest has been Trey Earnest, one of our students this year, the 2024-2025 class. He'll be graduating in May, and he'll be out there in the cruel world. Hopefully what we've done here to make him uncomfortable will make him more comfortable with being uncomfortable out there in that world. If you'd like to hear more, you can go to our website. You can give us a call. What we suggest, though, is stop on by. You can spend a few hours or a day or more with us, find out, talk to people and students like Trey, and find out a little bit more about the program and whether it is or maybe more importantly isn't for you. We'll be right back.